Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave from Chase the Summit, and we're going to go with another live stream today. So in the past couple of weeks, I've been posting a lot of videos about the Polar Grit X, this watch here. And it's got, whoa, can hear my own, there we go. So a couple weeks ago, I posted a video about the Polar Grit X. I got a ton of feedback, comments, questions, comparisons. So I followed up with that with comparisons against the Apex Pro and the Garmin Fenix 6. And still a lot of questions came in. So instead of doing another video comparing everything, side by side, I don't want to like beat a dead horse with the videos. So I'm going to do a live stream here. We're going to compare it in real time. I'm going to take some questions from the audience here, the viewers. I see a lot of questions are already coming in, so that's awesome. And then we can just chat. So before we get into it, just to let you know, I'm primarily a runner, as you can tell with all these bibs on the walls back here. So if you have any questions regarding like swimming or cycling, I may need to leverage some of you in the chat to answer those questions. Hopefully we can have some peer support here. I'm not a triathlete, so I can't answer everything. I have been using these watches extensively. I've got a ton of runs in. Basically every run I go on, I've been running 50, 60 miles a week right now. In every single run, I take all three watches. I can't wear all three, unfortunately, or else the heart rate data gets all screwed up. So I typically have been wearing the Apex Pro and the Polar Grit X, and then I've been pairing the Fenix 6 to my Stride Pod and a heart rate strap. So this is kind of like the baseline of data. And then these two have been kind of just exploring how good they are. So with that out of the way, if you're into this kind of content, I do a lot of reviews on fitness technology and gadgets and widgets and all kinds of stuff. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. I really appreciate that. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. I really appreciate that as well. Otherwise, I wouldn't do these things because honestly, I don't really like being on camera, so this is kind of a social exploration for me. All right, so let's get right into it. I want to first talk about the hardware of all three watches. I've been getting a ton of questions regarding the build quality and the durability and why is this one more expensive than that one. So let's just get that out of the way up front, shall we? Let's get some focus going here. Come on, camera, there we go. So I've got the Fenix 6 in the middle, the Apex Pro over here, and the Polar Grit X over here. I've got a, Facebook message coming in on the Polar Grit X. Oh well, that's fine. As far as pure build quality goes, I think, sorry, trying to get this to, there we go. So as far as pure build quality goes, I want to give the crown to the Garmin Fenix 6. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Primarily, that it feels like a tank. I mean, it's got the metal front and back. It's also got a sapphire lens, which one of the other ones has. But I've been wearing this one for about a year now. It's probably got 1,000 trail miles on it, and I've fallen. I'm not a great runner, so I trip and fall a lot. I've dragged it on the ground, and the only sign of wear right now is this tiny, I can't even show you on camera, it's so small, this little tiny chip in the finish up top. Now, that being said, this is the sapphire version, so it does have a DLC coating or diamond-like coating, so it's super durable. When you compare that to the Coros Apex Pro, I want to put this one in second place, the Apex Pro. Let's see if we can get a little close-up on the Apex Pro camera. There we go. So the Apex Pro is really well built. I mean, all these watches are well built, but the Apex Pro definitely comes in second place here. This one actually has a titanium front here. This actually has a titanium bezel. This actually has a aluminum back, which is kind of a lot of people think this is titanium as well, but this is actually aluminum and the front's titanium. The casing is plastic, just like the Fenix 6. So, I mean, really, this is like a straight competitor to the Fenix 6. They really almost designed it exactly the same. However, there are some little differences. The Fenix 6 just feels a little bit more tanky to me. I don't know. It's certainly heavier, and we'll cover that in a little bit. But the Apex Pro also has a sapphire lens, which is really great. I have dragged this across the ground, and I have been wearing this on a lot of runs, and I don't question the durability at all, but I still give it to the Fenix 6 as far as being the best built out of these three. Now, Coros does make a higher end watch called the Vertix, and that thing is a tank. I did have that one for review, and it was really well built. However, it is a little bit too expensive in my opinion, because all of those features in the Vertix do trickle down to the Apex Pro. They actually have the same functionality, with the exception of the build quality and the battery life. So the Vertix has like some insane amount of battery life, 60 hours in GPS mode. You basically just never have to charge it. So really fantastic device. And if you want the best battery, that's the one you have to go with. Now, I don't want to put the Polar in last place here, but it is, okay? This is the cheapest watch of the three, and by default, that means it's got the least well-built chassis. That's not to say this is a poorly built device. Come on, camera. Sorry for the focus issues. There she is. So it's a well-built device. It's got a stainless steel bezel. And what's cool about this one that the other two don't do is that the strap actually goes into the metal, which gives me a little bit more faith in this connection here. Whereas if you look at like even the Fenix 6, the strap goes into the plastic bits. So I like that the pins go right into the metal. So if anything's going to break, it's likely going to be the strap. If you like snag this on something, the strap is probably going to give before this thing. I can't say the same for the plastic. I've never had plastic break, but who knows, right? But yeah, so this is a well-built device. My big issue with this is they're marketing the Polar Grid X as like the outdoor adventure, expedition watch. And this has Gorilla Glass on it, which in my experience, it hasn't held up that great. I have a Garmin Forerunner 945, and I scratched that one on day one, which was kind of disappointing for me. So I don't know. I just don't love Gorilla Glass. You can throw a screen protector on this watch. It's not that big of a deal, but it doesn't. Now, here's the screen protector thing. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent here, but if you put a screen protector on the Garmin Fenix 6, yeah, so it's got a pretty good lip here. So if you put a screen protector on here, the protector is actually really hard to notice because you've got this ledge that kind of brings it up to the same level as the protector. Now, when you compare that to the Polar Grid X, it's the metal bezel here is almost flush with the glass. So if you put a thicker protector on here, like one of those tempered glass ones, it may be raised up beyond the bezel, which I don't think it would look great, but it's function over form at that point. So it is what it is. Looks like we're getting a whole bunch of questions. So we've covered build quality. I'm trying to keep this structured, people. So we covered build quality. I'm going to take some questions and then we're going to dive into some more details. I'm also going to keep this rather short because it's beautiful outside today and I want to go for my run. But I did want to do this. It's been something to do on my to-do list. So first question comes from Book Nerds. Nice. Is the Apex Pro worth the $500 asking price? It depends. So it's worth that for the person who's looking for the watch with the best battery life at $500. The Vertix, hands down, has the best battery life in GPS mode and in standby time. And that's where it's really amazing. You can put it on a shelf for a month and it will just keep going. It's ridiculous. You kind of forget where your charging cable is. So that is kind of liberating, and we'll talk more about battery life in a minute. But yeah, so that's the shining point of the Apex Pro. Is it worth $500? Well, it's a premium build. It's got some great features for the right person. And you know what? I'm going to cover this in the value equation at the end of this live stream. We're going to talk about the pricing and who these watches are for. But first, I want to get through more of the details and comparisons before we get there. Thank you for your question. Boop. Let's look at the next question here. Which one would you recommend the most? Again, this is kind of a loaded question. My needs are different than your needs. If you're a 5K runner, or you're somebody who runs marathons, or you are an expedition person, like you do alpine climbing, the suggestion I would give you is different based on your needs. So why don't you write another comment and we'll follow up on that. Next question. Headed out on a run. Oh, it's not a question. Hey, Ryan. Hope you're still listening, buddy. If you haven't seen Ryan Clayton's channel, definitely go check him out. Good dude. Do you have to run with the Garmin to make sure all the diagnostics and metrics are on the watch are right? I read somewhere that you have to do at least 2 times 5-minute runs each week. Yeah, so this is true. If you want to get the loading data, like your training load and your VO2 max, all that stuff, you have to run outside with the Fenix 6. I think it's twice within a week. It might be 3 times within a week. In either case, it won't show you that data until you actually cross that threshold of 2 times a week or whatever. If you hit that threshold and then your next week you don't run at all, it'll still show your VO2 max, but your training load data will just fall off. So you gotta kind of be regularly athletic or getting outside, and it only works outside, by the way. The VO2 max stuff and the training load, the training load will be affected from treadmill runs, but your VO2 max is only calculated from outdoor runs using the run profile or the cycle profile. If you use the trail running profile, it ignores that for VO2 max. And there's a reason behind that, because the terrain is so variable that there's no way Garmin can estimate your fitness based on a trail run, because of your footwork's all over the place. Your heart rate might be through the roof if you're climbing up a set of stairs versus a graded pavement. So it only works in the run profile, and I'm okay with that. I kind of wish Coros would do that, because I think they do take all of your activities into their equation, but they haven't denied or told me that in one way or another. So yeah, someone just corrected me. Training load does work with any sport. VO2 max only works with running or cycling outdoors, not indoors. Hope that helps. Let's go up to battery life with the Grit X because it disconnects. Let's go up to, let's take this question real quick. Okay, a lot of questions, guys. I'm gonna take one more and then we're gonna go ahead and dive right back into the content here. So, yeah. Is the battery life with GPS on of the Grit X? Uh-oh. What happened? Bear with me. Technology is not my strong suit. Okay, is the battery life with GPS on the Grit X because it disconnects to the phone? Is the battery life on the Fenix 6 just as good when you disconnect the phone from the watch? Yeah, so this is a weird one. So the Polar Grit X, when you're in an activity, running, cycling, whatever, it disconnects from your phone. The Bluetooth essentially turns off. And I think that's to preserve the battery life of the watch during GPS activities. The battery life is great during a GPS activity. However, I have a huge issue with this because I run with my Fenix 6 or my Apex Pro, and my wife can text me and then I can glance down and look to see if it's important or not. If she just wants to say, hey, what time you'll be home, I know I can just run a little bit further and, I'll get back to her eventually. But if she texts me that one of our kids broke his leg, I want to be able to see that right away and then acknowledge that, turn around and get back to my car. So it's a huge deal for me. And I hope Polar's listening. I really would appreciate if they could include that in firmware update. But I do have a little sneaking suspicion that it will affect the battery life, unfortunately. Okay, so let's get into the size and weight of all three watches. The Polar Grit X, the Apex Pro, and the Fenix 6 all advertise being a 47 millimeter diameter. Essentially, they're all the same size. That's, width-wise. I do find... So the other dimension is their thickness. They're all around 14 millimeters thick. But I do find that the Polar Grit X, I don't know if I'll be able to show this on camera if it ever focuses. There we go. But so the heart rate bump on the back of the Grit X is actually pretty proud. And when you have it on your wrist, it does feel a little bit thicker than the Apex Pro. Let me turn off that question. Sorry about that. Oh man, what's happening? Technology. Okay. Yeah, so the Polar Grit X has a pretty proud heart rate bump on the back here, and it can give the illusion of being a thicker watch than it is, because it is quite thin compared to the other two, but that bump especially if it like hits the bone on your wrist. It can make it feel a little bit bigger. The Garmin Fenix 6 is certainly the biggest watch. It is, it just feels, even though the dimensions are very similar, it just feels a lot more tanky. It's a very aggressive size for a watch, and this is the standard 6, not the 6X, which is even bigger. Personally, this is like right on the hairy edge for me of being too big. Even though I'm like a watch guy, I'm not comfortable with a super big watch on my wrist. The other thing is the weight. So the Fenix 6 comes in at 85 grams. The Coros Apex Pro comes in at 59 grams, being the lightest, and then the Polar is 64 grams. So the weight is huge to me. I know a lot of people like, we're talking grams here, but if you do the math, the Garmin Fenix 6 is like wearing the Coros Apex Pro and strapping a AA battery to the top of it. That's how much weight difference is here. And on my wrist, I certainly feel it. I can sleep a lot more comfortably with the Coros on than I can my Garmin Fenix 6. The Polar is like right in the middle, and it's pretty light. I think, between these two, the Apex Pro and the Polar, their weight difference is negligible. I can wear either to bed, no problem. I do find that the Polar is probably the most comfortable because it's got like a lot more rounded edges to it, whereas the Polar, or the Coros rather, has some sharp edges here on the buttons and stuff. And then the Fenix is pretty comfortable as well, but as far as comfort goes, I do like the Polar. It's also like aesthetically probably the most minimal looking. Like this comes in different colors, the Apex Pro, but I do find that the green and silver color, I like it a lot, but you can't really wear this to a wedding. You can swap out the band, and I've got a band from Polar here. This is the like army green one, and this looks really cool on the Coros Apex as well. But so as far as design goes, I actually like the look of the Polar, probably the best of the bunch, which is kind of surprising to me because I absolutely love the Fenix 6. Another big difference as far as hardware goes, we're going to talk about the lens or the screen size itself. In an activity, you can have 6 data fields on the Coros Apex and the Garmin Fenix, whereas the Polar Grid X only allows you to have 4 data fields. That's a huge bummer for me. I really like to see as much information as possible on one screen, so I don't have to flip through the pages, especially because I like to use the auto lock functions on these so I don't accidentally stop my activity. But yeah, so 4 data fields and then 6 data fields on the Coros and the Garmin. The other advantage to the Garmin is actually the actual hardware size of the display. Let's get that focused in. Let's get that backlight. Well, maybe I should show them right side up, huh? I'm not good at this. Where's the backlight? Oh, there we go. Upside down, whatever. So you can see here that the Garmin has a physically larger screen, and it's funny because it's only 0.1 millimeter or 0.1 inches bigger, but it's certainly noticeable. Especially when you're just glancing at it really quick. Another big difference is the backlight. I know there's a whole controversy in Garmin world. The backlight on the Coros is very blue. It's like washed out a bit, whereas the Garmin I have, started a run. The Garmin I have is actually very crisp, and it's probably the best backlight I've seen on one of these watches. The unfortunate thing with Garmin is there's a big variable in the quality of the backlight. And, on all of the Coroses I've had, they've been pretty similar with that washed out backlight. Not that big of a deal, but it seems like, judging by the comments I see come in, people actually care quite a bit about that. So it's worth mentioning. The Polar, I've seen, they've been pretty consistent with having a really good backlight. Let's see if I can show it to you. So the backlight on the Coros is very good, very black, and then the text is very white. But the weird thing is that you actually, if you do a wrist flip, it'll light up automatically for you. And when you do that wrist flip, it's kind of dim. You actually have to push the button to get the light to fully come on, which I'm not a huge fan of. Okay, let's take a couple more questions from you guys. This is a good one. I'm using some new software here, so bear with me. Hey, it worked. My camera's telling me it's overheating, so if I disappear, let me know and I'll try to fix it. Okay, so which do you like the best in general? That's a huge, I mean, so for me, in my opinion, in my use, the things I enjoy the most, this is a tough one. I honestly really enjoy all of them, but I do find myself reaching for the Garmin Fenix 6 the most. It's a great daily driver as well as sports watch. Like, so for instance, this has a calendar widget, which sounds silly, but like when I go to work, I have a ton of meetings and stuff. So having the ability to see all of my schedule, my agenda for the day on my watch is really valuable. And yeah, all of the watches will give you like calendar reminders and stuff, but the actual like widget is only on the Garmin. It's also got like the weather widget and stuff like that, and text messages come through full screen. You can actually read the full thing and you can scroll down. So really cool as a daily driver. It's a great sports watch, but if I had to pick one just for like running, depends again. Like just for training runs, I really like the Polar Grid X. This is a great training tool. But in a race scenario where all I want to see is the important stuff, Coros Apex Pro. Super simple, hit the button, go, super reliable. You know the battery's going to last. It syncs very quickly. Just super, it's a really, really strong contender in that department. Okay, I hope that answers your question. It's kind of vague. I don't really know. It's hard to pick one, right? Let's open up this question here. Wow, we got 60 people watching right now. This is crazy. Which one would you use for a 100-miler? Well, I can answer that from experience. I personally ran 100 with the Garmin Fenix 6 back in October. I started with 100% charge. I did set up a power mode for this race, so I had Bluetooth turned off, but I was using navigation with the maps. I had preloaded the course of the race in the map, so I was following turn-by-turn navigation the entire time. The race took me 26 hours, and I had 30% battery remaining on the Garmin Fenix 6. So gone are the days of people criticizing Garmin for their terrible battery life. That was the case with the Garmin Fenix 3 and the 5 and the 5H or the 3HR and they all lasted for like 18 hours. This one, I'm pretty confident up to 32 hours. I would wear this, and I would probably not bring a charger. Again, the Coros is a good option for a 100-miler as well, and it's a better budget option. These are not the same price. So if you're working with a budget, the Apex Pro or just the plain old Apex is a great option. And the Polar Grid X is still a really good option. My problem with the Grid X is the ability to navigate a course. It can navigate, but it's a little limited. Let's talk about that. Turn off this question. Yeah, I'm getting the hang of this, right, guys? So, yeah, someone just mentioned battery gets eaten by maps. It does, but I still managed to squeeze out 26 hours with the Fenix 6 while using the maps. I didn't have it on the map page the entire time. I left it on like my stats page, but you can navigate a course and leave the maps page like turned off, like go to a different page, and that will retain your battery life. The problem with the maps page is the animation. Like if you're continually moving, the animation on the maps moving, and that refresh of the screen is what kills your battery life. So if you just leave it on like your distance or whatever, that's the best to preserve the battery life. Okay, let's talk about navigation real quick and the difference between these. As far as navigation goes, Garmin's king, unfortunately, still the king. Nobody has implemented full-blown offline maps yet. I know you can get a smartwatch like an Apple Watch or one of the Galaxy watches or whatever, and you can download things like Gaia GPS and sync that with those watches. Unfortunately, they don't have the battery life like these watches do, so there's some limitations there. But the Garmin Fenix 6 does have the full offline topo maps. They work great. Navigating a course is awesome on this, and even like doing the simple stuff like back to start or searching for a waypoint. I personally use back to start all the time, especially lately. I've been exploring some new trails, so I'll run out 5 miles and I'll just hit back to start and let it navigate me back. And it's so awesome. It's freeing. I don't have to dig my phone out or look at Google Maps. It just does the work for me. So I really enjoy that. Another thing about the Coros Apex Pro can navigate a course as well. You can import a GPX file through the app to the watch. It works great. And the map on this is actually really cool because if you watch the videos, like all of these watches, if you're really interested in one, go back and watch one of my other videos. I dive into them pretty thoroughly. So on the Coros Apex Pro, the maps are actually touch enabled. It's weird because this watch, it has a touch screen, but nothing, like you can't navigate the menus with the touch screen or do really anything. It really only works in graphs and in the map. So if you load a GPX file, you can zoom with the little crown wheel on the side, and you can pan with your finger, it's so easy and fast. You can't do that on the Garmin. You have to use the buttons to navigate. That being said, I still prefer navigation on the Garmin Fenix 6 over the Coros Apex Pro. Coros does not have offline maps yet, so it's just a breadcrumb. It's a squiggly line indicating where the course is, and if your little dot is off that, it will help you get back to it, which is mostly all people need. But with the Garmin, you can literally just walk out in the woods and hit back to start, and it'll design a route for you. So that's really powerful. Polar, man. Navigation isn't the strong suit of the Polar. They did introduce Komoot, I hope I'm saying it right, navigation, which is very powerful. Don't get me wrong. It's a very powerful tool. If you're like an urban runner or someone who you're just designing routes around your neighborhood, or you want to do it on your phone and then follow a course, whatever, it's not great if you're like already out there or you're trying to follow a really long course. It's limited because there's no breadcrumb map. Basically, it'll show you your next turn, how far away from the turn you are, and a general understanding of how far along the course you are. But it won't actually give you like turn by turn, or like you can't zoom out, you can't zoom in, you can't pan around to see. If you're on a 100-mile course, it's a big course, so you're only going to see the first 10 meters or whatever. So it's not super helpful, but it does have its uses in like an urban environment. So Garmin's first, Coros second, Polar third. That's in navigation only. They all have their strong suits. This is something I've been battling with because people ask, what's the best, man? What's the best watch for $500? And it's so hard because you really have to, you have to sit down and write down what's important to you, what activities you want to record, what kind of data are you willing to sacrifice some accuracy to get more features? And that's something I've battled myself. So let's talk about accuracy a little bit. That's my navigation. Let's take some more questions, shall we? First, I need a sip of this delicious Lacroix. It's not beer, it's Lacroix. Let's go. Sorry if I don't get to your question. I'm trying to get to the actual questions, and I'll read through the comments after. I'll definitely get into the chat, and I'll try to address some of your individual questions. And if you have something, if you're watching this after the fact, I'm going to leave this up as a public video. Go ahead and comment down below, and I'll definitely respond to you. I try to respond to every comment, so as best as I can. Yeah, so somebody says, if you have small wrists, then the Fenix 6S might be for you. I agree and disagree. I don't know. So I've actually measured my wrist the other day because someone asked me to in the comments, but I did it for science. I forget what the actual number is, but I'm a pretty small dude. I'm like 5'7", 145, 150 pounds, quarantine, maybe 155 pounds. The Fenix 6 fits me okay. It is definitely the largest I'll ever go. I wouldn't go much bigger than this. It's kind of crazy. Like the 6X is just simply, I can't wear it. I wouldn't be able to sleep with it. But the 6 is okay with me. it's just a very personal thing, right? Like the size of your watch is just, like some people don't even like wearing watches. Maybe they only wear them to run. I like to wear them to sleep and stuff to try to gather all the data, but it might not be for you. But the 6S, my problem with the 6S is the battery life gets so crippled when you drop down in size. And that's not the case with other brands. Like if you go to the standard Coros Apex, you still get great battery life. 36 hours in GPS mode, a couple of weeks standby time. And it gets much smaller and less bulky, and it's still pretty big, but it's probably the same size as the 5S or the 6S. And I have a hard time giving up all that battery life for the size. And I get they have to cram a lot in there. I don't know. I mean, I think it's great for maybe someone who has extremely small wrists. Obviously, you're not going to wear one of these, but that's my take on it. Oh, here we go. This is a good topic. These questions take a second to load. Sorry. Jesus says, when will Polar have proper trackback? This is a big deal breaker for me. I agree, man. So the Polar Grid X has a trackback function, or return to start, I think is the proper term. However, it's a little limited. It's essentially, it'll show your point on a map. It'll show your home point where you started, but nothing in between. So it won't connect those dots. And that's not great. It'll give you a bearing. It's almost like projecting a waypoint and giving you a bearing in that direction. That being said, let's pretend we're on a peak of a mountain. My microphone's the mountain. And you want to get back to your car, and there's a valley between you. You know that your back to start is in that direction, but you obviously can't walk straight down the side of a mountain, through a valley, through a river, off a canyon cliff, whatever, to get back to your car. You need to go back the way you came or route a different way. And that's where Coros and the Garmin Fenix 6 have their strengths. Coros will do a back to start following the route you took to get to where you are. And that's great. And Garmin gives you the option to back to start following the route you took, or you can actually design a route on the watch to use the shortest path back to start. So if there's a different trail that gets you quicker back down the mountain, you can hit back to start, hit design a course, and it will route you to the base back to your car. That is super powerful to me, and I use it more than you'd think. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. If you're a road runner or something, you may never even use that map function, but it is a big deal to me. The Polar is great in a lot of other scenarios. It's just that navigation department a little lacking. And I think they could release some firmware updates to include more of this stuff, but yeah. Okay, let's go up to there's a good one. So, greetings from Pennsylvania. Well, let's wait for it to come up on the screen, huh? There we go. Greetings from Pennsylvania, Sir Knight. Which watch do I go with? The 5X or the 6X? This is an interesting one. If you're okay with the size of the X model, the 5X is still a really compelling option, especially at today's price point. I don't even know what it's going for right now. What are we going for? Gotta Google it real quick. Garmin Fenix 5X. What are we talking? They got one for $479. GPS Nation refurbished $249. You kidding me? Could buy two of these. Yeah, so it's a good deal. So the 5X has a lot going for it. The only difference is you're going to get far superior battery life in the 6 or the 6X. Even the 6 has better battery life, I believe. The 5 Plus and the 5X series didn't have the greatest battery life. I actually forget how much. 20 hours, yeah. So 20 hours in GPS mode. Not enough for me, unfortunately. It might be enough for you, but my new threshold is like 35 hours. And that's, just what everybody's doing these days. So here's the thing. Still a good option, has the maps built in. If you're a hiker, probably a really good option. Unless you're planning on backpacking, which then you could use the lower power mode and sacrifice some of that GPS accuracy to get longer battery life. So it's still a good option for like a hiker, someone who runs shorter distances. You do sacrifice the music option that you get on the Fenix 6. I've had the 6 for a year. I've used the music on it probably 4 or 5 times. And that was probably for the purpose of making one of these videos. It works great, don't get me wrong, but it cripples your battery life. And it's just not something I always have my phone with me. And I like to listen to podcasts and stuff. So just using Google Music or whatever, or Spotify on my phone is just easier to me. And I can control it through my earbuds. So I just leave it in my pack or my pouch or whatever. And it's kind of the same deal. And I'm not crushing the battery life. So yeah, so 5X still a good option. 6 is better, obviously, but it's way more money. So it's kind of up to you. What do you need it to do? You know, I'm not sure if I answered your question. Probably not a great answer. Okay, here's a good one. Marius, let's bring it up on the screen. There's a little delay between when I click the question and when it pops up. So, boom, there it is. Can I get a compass for height? Can I get a compass or height at Polar Grid X? I'm assuming Grid X. Marius Tobiason, thanks for the question. So the compass and the altitude, I'm guessing what you mean by height, is available in an activity only. So like on the Garmin and the Coros Apex Pro, you can access the compass and the altimeter and the barometer within just the dashboard or the home screens of the watches, whereas the Polar Grid X, you need to actually be in an activity like hiking or running or whatever. Then you can actually see your altitude and compass. That's kind of a strange one for me. Again, this is a outdoorsy watch, right? The Grit. So I feel like it should be available, but it's not. So it could be included in a firmware update. You can get it in an activity, so not to worry if you're in a running activity or whatever. You do have the access in, you know, in a pinch. Say you're hiking or something and you're like, crap, I really need a compass. You could just start an activity to get access to the compass. So it's not the end of the world. But yeah, not included. Another weird thing I found with, let's get that question up the screen. Thank you for your question. Another weird thing with the Polar Grid X is sometimes I'll be out on a run. It's probably because I use like a million different watches, right? Sometimes I'll be out on a run and I'll want to switch up my screen. So like if I'm on a trail run, I'll be like, oh crap, I don't have that power data field. I want to go in and add it. So on the Garmin, you do that on the watch. You just change, you click, you know, your activity, and then you just click down on what field you want to add and add it. On the Coros, you can go into the Coros app on your phone. You can change around your screen, hit save, and actually updates in real time right to the watch mid-activity. You don't have to stop or anything. Polar, it doesn't do that. So if you change a screen in the app on Polar Flow and then you hit save, it doesn't update the data fields in real time. And I think that's because it disconnects from your phone, like we just talked about with like text messaging and emails. You don't get notifications during an activity on the Polar, and you can't update your activities. So if you're 50 miles into your 100-mile race and you forgot to add the distance field and you're like, how far into this race am I? This is kind of an exaggeration, right? But it could happen, and you look down and it's not there. You can't add it mid-activity, which, you know, whatever. You could stop the activity, update it, start a new activity. Still, not that great. I wish you could add it mid-activity. All right, so let's talk about the ecosystem. I'll take more questions in one more minute, so feel free to keep asking away. This is awesome. I love the engagement, guys. So let's talk about the ecosystem of all three watches. We've got Polar Flow with the Polar Grid X, we've got Garmin Connect with the Garmin Fenix 6, and we've got the Coros app with the Coros Apex Pro. Again, strengths and weaknesses here. Polar Flow is so good, man. Like I could see long-term Polar users buying the Grid X simply because they want to stay in the ecosystem. And that's probably the case for a lot of people because Polar Flow, it's so well laid out. The app is fantastic. The way you view your data, like the graphs, everything is just so good. Like digesting the data is really nice. You can even, I don't know, maybe I should pull it up. You know what? I'm gonna pull it up, guys. bringing up my Polar Flow account. Let's see if I can do this share screen thing properly. Here we go. Look at that technology. That was great. So yeah, let's dive into one. I don't have all of my runs in here. I switch out my devices pretty regularly. So let's look at like one run in particular. This is from May 22nd. But so here's what I'm talking about. These graphs are really nice. The way you can isolate, you can drag these little sliders around and like really isolate a bit of information you want to look at closely. And you can see the power and the pace and the heart rate. Everything is just really, it's so nice. And then down here, you've got a really nice layout of your power and your splits. And what another cool thing about Polar Flow is you can actually split it after the fact, which I love because I accidentally hit my split button so many times that coming in here and saying, I want to do my split every mile, boom, I can split it up the way I wanted to. Really nice. So here we have my Garmin Connect account. And you know, Garmin's Connect is really good. I like their layout as well. I do prefer the graphs and stuff on Polar Flow than Garmin Connect, that's for sure. But it's still, you know, all of your data is here. And one big advantage that you have, I'll show you this one real quick, in Garmin Connect is the ability to design a route. So for me, like here's my 100 miler I did last year. Boop, there it is. So I've got, here's my whole 100-mile race, the map and everything. And then I was even able to put in my aid stations, guys. This is a huge deal. If you run races, this is like mind-blowing how effective this is. So you can go in and you can add your aid stations as waypoints. And when you're approaching them, you can have a data field on your watch telling you how far away you are. So if you're 50 miles into a race and you want to know when that next aid station is for water and food and stuff, you actually know the distance in mileage, and it'll estimate how much time it takes to get there given the pace you're running. Hugely powerful. I mean, this was like a game changer for me, having that information and seeing it in real time. So yeah, you know, they're both very good. Coros relies entirely from the app. Okay, so this is a strength and a weakness, I think. So you've got the Coros app here. Let's show that. You got the Coros app syncing with my Apex Pro here. And, you know, this is effective too. The problem is there's no web environment. And, you know, me being an old guy, you know, not that old, but pretty old. I like looking at stuff on the computer, and I like being able to like export my data right there on the web environment, you know, maybe email it to somebody. But the Coros ecosystem has come a long way. Something I'm going to give them a ton of credit for is they innovate and they add stuff so often. Like the updates just keep rolling out. Just recently, they updated the Apex Pro and the Vertex to have native structured workouts built in, and it's really awesome. It's better than Garmin, better than Polar Flow for doing like strength training and interval workouts. They just added that update last week, and I've been playing with it. So cool. They do rely entirely on the app, and I have heard some whispers that eventually they're going to come out with a web environment, like a web portal like Garmin and Polar, but they haven't done it yet. I think they're fully capable. I know they actually have a hidden feature. I can actually show you. I'm not going to show you. There's a hidden feature in Coros where you can actually upload activities from other devices. So if you ran with your Garmin and you really wanted to see it in your Coros app, there's a way to do that. It's a little sneaky and backhanded, but like you have to go to a certain area of their website to gain access to this backdoor that has an upload feature. But it works, and it will sync with your app on your phone. So ecosystem wise, I'm going to give it to Polar being the best. Although I do love the course builder in Garmin, the Polar does have the best like training information and all of that. Okay. Let's take more questions, shall we? I saw somebody a while back ask a question I really wanted to answer. Sorry, I know this content can get a little boring if I'm just staring at my computer. So the question was, I can't find it. There's too many. Maybe I can search. Can you search this thing? Oh, you can. That's handy. There we go. All right, questions coming up. Here it comes. All right, Ghostly Anthem. What about stride support and waypoint navigation? All right, this has lately become a big deal to me because I started a little shout out to Stride. Let me get that in focus. Camera. Come on, camera. Will it do it? What if I put my hands out? Say a little experiment. Yeah, so the Stride Pod, this has become a training tool for me just recently. Stride sent this out to me, I think 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks ago for review. And I've been using it regularly with my Garmin Fenix 6 and the Stride app on my phone. And Polar does support it. Now, of the 3 watches I have here, one of them doesn't support Stride yet, and that is Coros, unfortunately. This is something they need to address, I feel like. So I think the reason for this, Coros doesn't support Stride because they sell this. This is the Coros Pod. And I reviewed this a little while ago. I didn't have all of the information yet when I issued that review. So you get more metrics basically. So you pair this with your Coros watch, I think compatible with all of them. You stick it on the back of your shorts, go for a run, and it will give you running power, ground contact time, your ratio from left to right, all of that stuff. Valuable data. However, the power metric coming out of this isn't great. And I'll show you that in a little bit. Now, the Stride Pod is a whole different story. This thing is amazing. So it'll give you running power. It'll also take into account wind. So if you're in a strong headwind and you're really getting blasted and you're running, your energy level just went way through the roof, the Stride Pod will recognize that and it's reflected in the power data. Another thing that does generate a power metric is the Polar Grid X by itself without even having the Stride Pod. And what's shocking is it's actually pretty usable in my experience so far. It's not perfect, but for something that's just coming from your wrist without a Stride Pod or any other device on you, it's kind of mind-blowing. So the Stride Pod is certainly the best option. It's really amazing. It's kind of eye-opening as a runner when you start using one of these and training with one. It's really a game changer. Instead of zone training with your heart rate, you can now train with power, and power doesn't change. Like Lance, whoever has the Jim Walmsley, right? The fastest 100-mile racer guy, course record holder of Western States. He will generate the same amount of power that I would at a given pace or whatever, right? And the only variation there is he's going to be way fitter than me, so his heart rate's going to be through the roof. But knowing what power you can sustain at a given heart rate, it's super valuable. I don't want to too into the weeds on this. I'll make a different video about this. But Stride has been really cool so far. I'm excited to make a video about it. It's coming soon, maybe in a week or something. But so far, for support for Stride, Garmin and Polar both support the Stride Pod. Polar can give you power without the Stride Pod. And the Coros Apex Pro, Vertex, all the Coros watches don't support Stride yet. They can give you a power metric from Stride Pod, but it's not very good. Okay. Hope that answers your question. I went off on a tangent on that one. Let's see. That's a good question. I'm gonna have to preload these questions so they don't take so long to bring up. Which mobile app do you enjoy using more? By Tiago. Yeah. If it's just the app, we're talking purely the app, I think I would give it to Coros. It's kind of bizarre. It's a toss-up between Coros and Polar. Yeah. So Garmin's great. The Garmin Connect ecosystem, the app, everything is really good. And like I said, Garmin just has so much more smarts. Like you have Garmin Pay support and stuff, and that's all in the app too. You can load music through the app, golf courses, all that stuff. But for the stuff I do for running, for analyzing my metrics, I really like the Coros app, and there's a reason why I like it. Coros app is not limited. Garmin and Polar had to limit their app to certain features. Like if you want to export a TCX or a fit file from one of your activities, you have to log into the Polar Flow website or Garmin Connect to download that file. Whereas if you go into the Coros app, you can export that right through the app, and it's because they don't have a web portal to direct you to, right? So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I like the Coros app. They're all very good, and Coros just keeps getting better. If you go back and watch my video about their last firmware update with their, whoa, all 3 watches just vibrated. If you go back and watch my last video with their last firmware update, they added strength training to it, and that made it a lot more powerful. It's got like animations in the app, and you can build workouts and stuff. It's really, really impressive stuff. I like what they're doing over there. They're not just like trying to copy everybody else anymore. They're trying to get their own niche, and I admire that. So yeah, I can't give it a winner. I think Coros is kind of the funnest to use, but I don't know. How do I connect a route from Komoot to Polar? I'll answer that in a minute, okay? So yeah, now I want to dive into, we're going to talk about GPS accuracy, heart rate accuracy, and power. We just talked about the Stride pod here. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to share my screen again. There we are. So here I've got 4 TCX files imported to my comparison tool here. I've got the Polar Beat here up top left. That's the Polar H9 chest heart rate strap. So that is going to be our baseline for the best heart rate accuracy, okay? The H9 for me, where is it? There she is. It's still a little sweaty from yesterday. Sorry about this. So this is the Polar H9. This is a great strap. It's affordable. It's like $59, I think. Super accurate. It can pair with Polar Beat on your phone, so you can record an entirely separate heart rate track without relying on your watch or whatever. And I've had issues with this before because Polar really wants to pair with your watch, okay? If you turn this thing on, you put it on, all 3 of these watches will be like, hey man, you want to pair with that heart rate sensor? Like right away. They really want to pair together, and it's like automatically it happens. So I had to manually delete this out of all 3 watches so I could get their wrist-based sensors to turn on. And that, like, I think the Garmin one was the hardest. I deleted it and it came back, and anyways, I got through that. Anyways, the orange track is going to be the Polar H9 strap. This purple color here, you can't see my mouse, can you? The purple color is the Polar Grit X. The blue color is the Coros Apex Pro, and then the pink color is the Garmin Fenix 6, okay? This is all a metric. I apologize for that. There's no way to change it unless you're using metric stuff all the time. I use miles. So this is a 32 kilometer run. Wait, is that right? Yeah, 16 miles. I wasn't moving very fast this day. This was kind of a low effort day, so you can see my average power was 235 watts. We'll look at the GPS track here. So let's zoom into this area. And what you notice is they're all doing a pretty good job, okay? Like, ignore this orange track. The orange is actually my phone's GPS, so that's gonna probably be the worst or smoothed out the most. Pink is the Fenix 6, and maroon is the Grit X. So the pink color here is the Fenix 6, and the maroon is the Grit X, and then the blue is the Coros Apex Pro, okay? You guys following along here? And what I've noticed, I've done a lot of runs, okay? I've gone on a lot of runs with all 3 of these watches, and they all do a good job on different days. The one weaker, I think the weakest out of the bunch, I might give it to the Fenix 6. Probably the least accurate GPS track I get from all 3 of these watches. And that was surprising to me, given that this is an $850 watch, okay? But it seems to drift the most. Even in this example that I'm giving you right now, you can see that the pink track is way off. And the maroon track is kind of on top of, and the blue track, strangely, is doing the best here. So on this particular run, the Apex Pro was doing the best. And, you know, on other runs, the Polar will do the best. And then on a different run, the Apex will do the best. And so the Fenix is just never doing the best. It's a good watch. Uh-oh. I think I just blacked out. Hang on, guys. I think my camera just overheated. You guys can't see me, can you? Uh-oh. Come on. Come on, baby. Are we back? Oh, we're back. Look at that. Ha. It's probably going to turn off again. So let's make this quick. Come down here. So that's GPS. Least performance out of the Garmin. Best performance, it's tossed up between the Polar and the Apex Pro. Okay. Now, altitude's been pretty reliable through all three of them. I think the most reliable, I would give it to the Garmin Fenix 6. Seems to be the most realistic to me. I know where I live at my home base is about 120 feet above sea levels, and that's kind of in the same ballpark as what I'm seeing here. This is telling me 38 meters or so. And the high points are all pretty close. Now, heart rate. This is a sensitive topic. This is a weird one. So when I first got the Polar Grit X, this was the best performing heart rate monitor I had ever tried on a wrist-based system. And it was like mind-blowing. For a couple of weeks, I was getting the best heart rate out of my Polar Grit X. And my review reflected that. I spoke very, very highly of this heart rate sensor. Unfortunately, it's changed a little bit. Some runs, I've been getting like crazy spikes that I've seen other review videos that have noticed this as well, and people in forums and stuff. It'll be like really consistent, 168, 167, and then it'll go boop, and then you'll see like 180 or something out of nowhere. And they just happen randomly. It sometimes doesn't happen at all, and sometimes it does. And I have a suspicion here that it's because of this strap. So this strap, out of the three, is the least stretchy. So I actually ordered a new strap for this to test it out. But this one, it's not very stretchy. It's pretty static. It's comfortable, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't stretch a lot. So when you get it tight on your wrist, it can, once you like lose a little water weight or you sweat a little bit, it can become a little slippery on your wrist, and it doesn't like tighten up to your wrist because of that extra stretch. Like on the Coros here, I don't know if you can see this on video, but like, whoop, that's like a bungee cord, right? This guy doesn't stretch as much, which I think that attributes to this weird heart rate fluctuation. That aside, the Polar is still the most accurate of the bunch, but that spike can really mess with me because then it skews all of your like performance data after the fact. Like your max heart rate will say 180 when your max heart rate was really only 165 or something. Now the Coros Apex Pro, for some reason, I've actually, the first couple of weeks I had this watch, I've had this for a while, maybe 6 months or so. First couple of weeks I had this watch, I wasn't blown away with the heart rate data I was getting out of it. Then they did some firmware updates. They changed their app a little bit and they added features and stuff. And in that process, I think they made the sensor better. So lately, it's actually been really good, surprisingly good. The one issue I have is it doesn't kick in right away. And I'll show you this in this run. So if we zoom out, right, it looks pretty consistent, this whole track, right? But if you look at the beginning, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know what it is. Maybe like the temperature of my body needs to warm up the watch or something. But the Apex Pro just like reports this low heart rate for a while. It takes a while to catch up to speed. And then after, let's see, what's the timeline here? 17 minutes. After 17 minutes, the watch must warm up or something, or I don't know. Maybe the sweat helps. I don't know. But then it becomes really stable. And like, let's zoom in here. Oh, you can't see that because my head's in the way. So now we're looking pretty stable, right? Everything's kind of in line. So that's just a theory. I don't know if it's something to do with my body temperature or something, but yeah, for whatever reason, the Apex Pro doesn't kick in right away. It takes a couple of minutes and then it's pretty good. Still not perfect, pretty good. Garmin Fenix 6. In this run, it actually looks pretty good. Okay, Garmin Fenix 6 is the green one. So let's zoom in to like this looks like a problem area. So we're looking at the top graph, by the way. Sorry, this might be a little confusing because my mouse, the mouse is there, good. So here the Coros Apex Pro goes out a little bit and then it comes and settles in a little bit. And keep in mind, we're trying to match the Polar Beat, which is the red line. That's the H9 chest strap. So like here we're performing pretty good, but like generally in all of my runs, I don't want to go through a data of like my past 5 runs because you guys would get pretty bored of that. But generally speaking, the heart rate sensor on the Fenix 6 isn't that great. It was better when I first bought it. I don't know what happened. Maybe like the little micro scratches on the back have affected the optical quality of the lens or something. But it hasn't been as good as it used to be. I've been getting a lot of drops. Like here, there's a little drop. We'll zoom in on that to exaggerate. So there's a drop here, you know, like Fenix 6 looks a little low. And this is the same in the high, when you get your heart rate goes through the roof, like on a steep hill or something. The Fenix 6 tends to not report anything above like 165 beats per minute. Like if I really kill myself and go up to 180, hit my max heart rate, the Apex Pro and the Polar Grid X will pick that up. The Fenix 6 it never picks it up. I don't know why. So what I do is I pair the Polar H9 to my Fenix 6 with the Stride Pod. And what I noticed with that is after a few runs with my Fenix 6 paired to the Polar H9 chest strap, my VO2 max actually went up 2 points. So that's got to be something. It must be attributed to the bad heart rate sensor on the Fenix 6. So keep that in mind. If you're a Fenix 6 user or any Garmin user, their Elevate heart rate sensor can be problematic. I found it a little more accurate on the Garmin Forerunner 945. That one had a better heart rate sensor. But, you know, take it for what it's worth. Yeah, as far as, let's rank them. The best, the absolute best out of these 3, I'm going to give it to the Polar Grid X still, but they need to fix that spiking issue, okay? Like the heart rate spike on the Grid X, it's killing me. These 2, they're kind of hand in hand. The Grid X is just more responsive. Like when the heart rate on the Polar H9 chest strap jumps, so does the heart rate on the Grid X. And I think it's due to this crazy LED array they got going on in the back. And yeah, so we'll leave it there. Let's take some more questions. I've been on the air for an hour. Holy. Probably gonna have to wrap this up soon before my kids come home. My wife took them out to go for a bike ride. It's been so nice to have a quiet house. I've been working from home for the past month, or longer than a month now, and we've been homeschooling, working from home, all of the things, and it's just like so crazy to be alone in a house right now, even though I have you guys with me. Okay, let's take some comments here. So, there goes my camera again. Internal temp is 2. Oh man. You know what? I don't even have a webcam, so I'm gonna let this cool off. You're still gonna hear my voice. We'll call this a podcast now. And we'll take this question. Let's let the camera cool off and we'll get another 10 minutes out of it so I can wrap this up. So Bob Bowman says, Coros support is coming in a few months. That's good to hear, Bob. Do you have an internal source for that? Because I'd like to talk to them about it. Let's take the next comment here. Now my comment stuff isn't working. Guys, my live stream's falling apart. I love the accuracy of the stride distance. Works great on trails and pavement. Power is nice too. Totally agree, man. The stride pod has been kind of a game changer for me. I'm gonna flip the camera back on. Everyone cross your fingers. Oh, we're back. Look at that. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So yeah, stride pod has been a game changer for me personally. I'm really happy with it. And I'm gonna have a review about that coming soon. So stay tuned for that. So how do I connect a route in Komoot to the Polar Grid X? Good question. You want to go ahead and go into your Komoot app. I think you mark it. Actually, you just create a course in Komoot, hit save, and then when you go into your Polar app, it'll be listed under your favorites. So that's something you just got to look for. Automatically syncs under there, and you can pull it into the watch to follow it. It's pretty cool. Let's, here's one. David Thompson, power on the Grid X is also useful for muscle load. Polar breaks out muscle versus cardio load. David, I know you work for Polar, but good point. Thank you for commenting. Man, these comments take a while to load up. Matt LeGrand, hey buddy, how's it going? Matt's got a great YouTube channel as well. Go check him out if you guys are into all this nerdy fitness tech that we talk about here. No home location, but what if I want to send you stickers? I'm happy to accept some stickers, Matt. Definitely reach out to me. I'll send you some myself. I got a few Chase the Summit stickers. Hey, on that note, shameless plug. I still have some of these cool hats if you guys are interested. This is the Chase the Summit trucker hat. I should probably wear these more often. These are cheap. I just put them on sale because no one bought them. So now they're cheap. Go check out chasethesummit.com, and there's a store button at the top there if you're interested. All right. More questions. Wow, you guys are awesome. So many questions. I'm just going to keep trolling through these. Matt LeGrand, again, the summer is going to be a pain with our Sony a7 III. Funny you mentioned that. I got rid of my Sony a7 III. This isn't fitness related, but some of you might care. I sold my Sony a7 III for a Sony a6600, and that's what I'm shooting on right now. This has never overheated before, this camera, and it happened today. So that's interesting. I'm gonna have to like strap an ice pack to my camera on these warm days. All right, let's get to some of the more recent. Oh, here's a good one. Okay, so do you think Polar will have an inverted color for activity screens? That's a good question and something I really hope they address. So on the Fenix 6 and on the Coros Apex Pro, you can change the background color of your activity. So if you really like black text on a white background, you can do that. And I personally prefer that. It's easier to read at a glance. Polar, on the other hand, is only black, which, you know, some people won't care. It's still very visible. This is a great screen on the Polar, but yeah, it's only black. It's black with white text, and even like the heart rate graph with the colors and stuff, you can only do black with colors on top of it. So I do hope they add an inverted option or a white background option. That would be pretty nice. Oh, here's a good one. Let's talk about this. Man, I'm really into these comments. Let me know if I'm getting boring. Here we go. Emir, I believe socialization ecosystem of the Garmin is way beyond that of Polar and Coros. Does this affect you how you choose Garmin over other watches? Okay, so yeah, it's interesting that Garmin has the social feature. They have that Garmin Connect where you can challenge your friends to steps and stuff. Polar and Coros don't have that. Personally, I don't really care. I don't use that. What I use is Strava, and all three of these can sync to Strava. And Strava, in my opinion, is a lot more functional. It's a lot more social. You can write comments and kudos and all that stuff. So that doesn't bother me as much. For people who want to do like step challenges and stuff, I think a company like Fitbit might be a better option. But I don't know. I prefer using Strava, and it doesn't really affect me. The Garmin ecosystem is cool. Like my wife uses a Garmin, and I can see what she's been doing, and we can kind of compete against each other. But yeah, it doesn't affect my buying decisions. Camera's telling me it's overheating again. Prepare for a blackout screen, guys. Let's take two more questions. Two more, unless something really interesting comes in. Okay, Nick Bradley. Hey buddy, I've seen you on Facebook a lot. Vertex or Fenix 6 Pro? Tough call, man. So Fenix 6, if you care about mapping, if you want to get all of the mapping functionality and navigation, return to start, all that stuff is just way in a different league on the Garmin Fenix 6. The Vertex is a nice watch. I still think it's priced too high for what it offers, because the Apex Pro is like 98% of the Vertex for less money. So I think the Apex Pro is probably the better buy, or even the regular Apex. But if you absolutely need the best battery life on the planet, the Vertix is the king, man. Like, the Vertix can go for a couple of months on a charge. You can run for 60 hours in GPS activity. Totally insane, right? So Vertix is the king of battery life. That's all I can give you with that. Right. Couple more questions. Why don't you mention the Sun 2.9? I thought since you are an ultra runner that it would be a very nice option for you, or at least these three options that are much better. Yeah, so the Suunto 9 is a good watch. I have a lot of friends that use it. Personally, it doesn't appeal to me in that because it's kind of an older, well, it's not old, right? But we're talking about technology here. So it's relatively old compared to all these watches. And the battery life is pretty limited. They do advertise you get like 24 hours out of it, but I've seen people get 16, 18, it's just not enough for me. That and their ecosystem's kind of been all over the place between moves count and the Suunto app and like the disconnect that happened there. I just don't understand what they're doing with their software. They make great hardware, albeit the 9 is a very large watch, and it's very bulky. So for what it offers, in my opinion, it's just not something I'm not that interested in, but I know a lot of people that do wear it and love it. So I did reach out to Suunto last week to see, do they have anything up their sleeve? Is there anything, coming down the line? They didn't respond. They don't respond to my emails. But I hope for them they do something really cool really soon, because these watches coming out, like the Polar Grid X is such a good watch for $430. Like I don't know why you'd buy Suunto 9 over the Grid X. That's all I can say about that. But for people who are really embedded in that Suunto ecosystem, or you simply just like Suunto as a brand, it can be an option. Okay, a couple more, and we're gonna wrap it up because my camera's gonna turn off again, and I would be super embarrassed in front of all of you watching me. Can I text and call with the Polar Grid X and listen to music? The Polar Grid X does not have onboard music, neither do any of the Coros watches. The only watch in this lineup in the sports watch category is Garmin. Garmin has like the 245M, the 945. A lot of their watches now support music, which a lot of people seem to care about. Personally, I never use it because it kills the battery life on the Fenix 6. And like just getting the music on here is kind of fiddly. It's not really for me. That, and I'm also a Google Music subscriber, so it doesn't work with Google Music, so I need to pay for a different service like Amazon or something if I want to use Garmin Music. So I just use my phone. So Polar doesn't do that. They don't have onboard music. However, they do have a secret function in Polar where you can actually control your music from the watch. So if you have your phone stuffed away, you can skip track, pause, play within the notifications tray of the watch. That said, it doesn't work during an activity, so it's kind of useless if you're running. You can't go in and pause your music or whatever. Honestly, though, I just use my earbuds. Like I use the Jaybird Vistas here. These are my go-to running buds, and these you can play, pause, skip track, volume up and down, all from the buttons on the ear pods. So I don't really use my watch for that. Hope that answers your question. I'm gonna take one more, and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Nick Bradley, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Tommy Lee, the Forerunner 945. Yeah, so that's the underlier here. It's in this ballpark, right? Because we're talking about watches ranging from $439 up to $600, $850. So yeah, the Forerunner 945 is currently on sale, I think, for like $550. That's a triathlete watch in my opinion. They're not really saying it's a hardcore outdoorsy watch, but it is essentially a Garmin Fenix 6 just made out of plastic. at the end of the day. And my review for the 945 that I posted back in like September or something doesn't even apply anymore, because they've updated the firmware so many times that it basically has all of the functions of the Fenix 6, like the widget glances when you scroll through here. We'll look right on the watch. So when you scroll through the widgets here, you know, they're really small and easy to read. They included that on the 945 now. That's nice to see. I think they also added the power modes on the 945 from the Fenix 6. That's also really, really nice. I love that about the Fenix 6. For those of you who don't know, power modes are the ability to like set up presets. So I can say Bluetooth off, maps off, you know, turn down the screen brightness to 10% or whatever, and save that as a preset called long trail run or whatever. You can actually name it. And then I can pull that up when I go on my long trail run to maximize my battery life. So I've got power mode set up for ultra marathons, and then I've got, you know, maximum accuracy turned on for other activities like shorter training runs where I want the best, really bright backlight or whatever. So you can really dial in and switch through them quickly without having to fiddle through the menus. That stuff has all made its way over to the Garmin 945 now. So it's a really compelling option for a much cheaper price. It's basically the Fenix 6 Pro in a plastic body, like I said. And I actually prefer wearing the 945 than the Fenix 6 because it's way lighter. It's actually just as light as the Coros Apex Pro at like 59 grams. Downside, made out of plastic, Gorilla Glass screen, scratches very easily. I actually scratched the crap out of mine already. So, you know, there's that. But you could just throw a screen protector on it. And another nice thing about the 945 and all of the plastic options from Garmin is that their bezel is actually plastic, yes. But if you scratch a plastic bezel, guess what's underneath that? Plastic, right? So it's black. So the scratches are not that noticeable on the 945. Whereas if you scratch the Garmin Fenix 6 here with the gray DLC coating, you're going to see that stripe of metal, you know, that's shining through. It's a lot more noticeable. So yeah, as far as like impact goes, it's going to be less likely that you're going to break a Fenix 6, right? If you fall and whack it on a boulder, you're less likely to break the Fenix 6, but you're more likely to scratch it, I think, or have noticeable scratches. So yeah, tough choice. It's a great option. It's smaller, it's less bulky, similar battery life. So they kind of go hand in hand. It's up to you if you want a plastic watch or kind of a premium, you know, heavy duty watch. For me, you know, I like both, but I find myself wearing the Fenix 6 a little more often. Okay, I think that's everything. Let's check the chat. Some people pay. We'll take this last one, and then we'll wrap her up, huh? I've been on the air for a while. Can't believe you guys are still watching. Like I said at the beginning of this channel, if you're into this sort of like nerdy stuff, make sure to subscribe down below. Give me a thumbs up. I'm really trying to hit that 10,000 subscriber mark, and we've been making some steam lately, so I'm super excited. And the more engagement I get, the more excited I get, and the more I want to make videos. So I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. So a mirror gun. Some people say Polar Grid X phone alerts don't work as good as the Garmin. Have you experienced anything like that? So yes, I have. The Polar Grid X, when you get a text message, you can't just look at it at a glance. You actually have to swipe up on the screen to get to the text message. You know, it's not a huge deal to me. Some people might even like it because there's some sense of privacy there. So if you're out in public and your girlfriend or boyfriend texts you something inappropriate, you know, you can actually not acknowledge it right away. But oh, that's good correction there. I'll jump back to that. So yeah, you have to swipe up if you get a text message or an email. However, the touch screen is pretty responsive in most cases. It can get a little laggy, but I do like reading through my texts and emails and stuff on the screen because of that touch sensor. Oh man, right at the end of the video we blacked out again. So we're gonna let this cool off and then I'm gonna wrap it up, I promise. So let me just keep talking while I'm blacked out here. So the Polar Grid X has a touch screen. The Coros Apex Pro also has a touchscreen, and the Garmin Fenix 6 does not have a touchscreen. However, you know, they don't use the touchscreen on the Coros Apex Pro as often, so you can't scroll through your emails or anything on the Coros with the touchscreen. You can only use it in activities and stuff. So yeah, don't love the implementation of notifications on the Polar Grid X, but you can get by it. It's totally functional. Okay, someone corrected me, Michael Harold, thank you. The Garmin 945 does not, bring it up on the screen. The Garmin 945 does not have power fields yet, but it does have 6 data fields. So there you go. No power modes yet, but it does have 6 data fields. That's nice to see Garmin include. Okay, hour and a half almost. I'm going to wrap this up now, guys. Really appreciate everybody tuning in today. This has been a really awesome live stream. I hope I answered some of your questions. Feel free to hang out in the chat room. I'm really excited to see the engagement you guys got going on over there. Comment down below if you've got any additional questions. I will certainly get to them. How do I get this? I can't get this off the screen now, guys. Anyways, Michael, you're gonna ride this one out with me. Man, this software's not for me. Okay, anyways, yeah, like I said, we're wrapping this up. I appreciate everybody hanging out with me today, and it's been a lot of fun. And if you are interested in this sort of thing, fitness technology, wearables, I've been treadmill reviews, all that kinds of stuff, definitely subscribe, comment down below. If you've got more questions, hit that in the comment field. I follow up with everybody. I hope you're all being safe. You are washing your hands. You are being safe, social distancing. And, you know, here in Massachusetts, we're starting to open up again. I think tomorrow is like phase 1. So businesses are opening up and restaurants and stuff. And I just want everyone to be really careful out there because we don't want to go through this again. So be safe. Thank you for joining me.